And if you would accept physical pain as nothing more than the same information that emotional discomfort was providing for you, then it can be as quick to move through that as it is to move through the emotional. Yeah, isn't that nice to know? It just takes a little more, you have to be a little more deliberate in your thinking than you usually are. But isn't it helpful to realize that when the resistance is now manifested in something that is even more noticeable, don't you want to say, hey, whatever it takes, thanks for the information, rather than worrying about what's going on? Just appreciate the information that the physical discomfort is providing, and that way you get right back in your lane more quickly and easily, rather than trying to get to the bottom of something. There is no bottom to anything. Just be where you are and appreciate the information. It is only a thought away, but let's talk about that. So let's say that rather than calling it a thought, let's call it a vibration. Because there are a lot of vibrations that happen before you receive a thought, before you translate the vibration into something as tangible as a thought, or before you manifest the thought. Let's call the thought a manifestation. Vibration, 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 manifestation of the thought. So let's say that you're just in the vibrational mode. You're not really thinking too much about anything, and you feel a rumble strip, and you can't really even identify what thought you were thinking. Well, there's not too much corrective action to take, is there? Because you weren't really even aware that you were thinking any thought, and you really don't know what the vibrations were about, but still you're more alert and paying attention. You might even be picking up on something that's ahead in the highway, or something that's on somebody else's mind. It wasn't in your head, but there's a sort of rumble in the vibration that lets you know. You see what we're getting at? But let's say that you have a thought and you feel the rumble strip, but you don't do anything about it. And so now you've got all four wheels on the other side of the rumble strip. And now it's rocky and the terrain is uneven, and some of your wheels are even off the pavement altogether. And now it's harder to control your car. And so now your thoughts are even more not helpful, because now you're responding to the conditions of that. So when you say it's only a thought away, we want to say it might feel like it's a lot more than a thought away, because you've got all these other things that you're now almost forced to think about, that you're having to deal with. So rather than saying it's only a thought away, let's say it's only a vibration away. And let's acknowledge that while you sleep, the momentum of vibration or the momentum of thought subsides. And so let's give you the advantage of expecting that when you awaken in the morning, that all of that's subsided. It's like you went to sleep instead of going off the bridge. And now you don't have to deal with any of that, because none of it's active in your vibration right now. And now that you are awakened, that vibration has subsided enough. And now you can begin anew with thoughts that feel good to you. However, if your propensity for thinking the thought that caused the rumble strip is still within you, and it likely is, you're going to come across another thought and feel the rumble strip. Only this time, you're more likely to feel the rumble strip at an earlier stage. And so when you say it's only a thought away, we agree, it really is only a thought away. But we want to give you all the benefit of the doubt by saying it's a thought that leads to 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 a thought. And then we get all complicated and worried about the thoughts that we're thinking. You say cancel, cancel, try to suck the thought back before law of attraction gets hold of it and gives you something. And it really does not need to be so complicated. It really is easier for you to go to a place of non-thought, which allows your vibration to raise. And when you allow your vibration to be in this higher place, then the thoughts that you have access to are just different thoughts. You see what we're getting at? Just for a little while. Rather than working at controlling your thoughts or controlling your reactions to things, just focus on the best feeling vibrations that you can find. Focus on feeling as good as you can feel. Let it be about feeling rather than about thinking. And when you make it more about feeling than about thinking, you make it more about vibration than about thought. And when you make it more about vibration than about thought, then what happens is you allow your vibration to get higher and higher. And as it rises, then you have access to different thoughts. Does That makes sense to you? We haven't had a discussion quite like this before. It's a path to lesser resistance. You are the creator of your reality because you are the offerer of vibration. You offer a lot of vibration without words. Do you agree with that? You offer a lot of thought without words. Do you agree to that? You offer a lot of words without thought. Do you agree to that? You offer a lot of thought and words and behavior without consideration of what they are doing to your point of attraction. Because you often do not make the association between what you're thinking and how you're feeling. It isn't until you allow quite a bit of momentum to get going that your vibration of resistance gets strong enough that you have a really strong emotional response to it. We're talking about most people most of the time. So when something happens to your physical body and you feel a tension somewhere, don't you usually try to identify what you've been doing? Esther will say, well, I was hanging clothes on a very high rack and I held myself in a very odd position for a very long time. And we said, and how were you feeling when you did it? Because Esther wants to talk about the very small ladder she was on and the very high thing she was reaching for. She doesn't want to talk about the time shortage consciousness that she had going on when she was doing it. What's the vibration behind it? In other words, because the action, whatever vibration you've got going on, if you've got a vibration going on that is not in sync with your inner being, you'll make all the wrong decisions. Just like changing lanes badly and running right into someone. So if you make it about vibration rather than about action, or you make it about vibration rather than words, or you make it about vibration rather than thought, if you make it about vibration, then you're able to catch it at the earlier, more subtle stages. In other words, if we said to you, we want you to feel good. We want you to feel good. So focus on your body just for a moment and focus on the fact that you just feel good. Here you are in your body. You've adjusted to the atmospheric pressure of your planet. You've adjusted to the oxygen content of the air. Your body knows what to do with the air you're breathing. Your body knows what to do in the metabolizing of the food that you're ingesting. Your body is adjusted. Just focus upon how you feel. Just focus upon how you feel just for a little bit. If you could just relax into the feeling of the moment, rather than trying so hard to think it into the perfect place, just accept the rightness of your beingness, the rightness of where you are, trusting that what you put into the vortex is calling you. And if you're relaxed and ready to go, so to speak, rather than tensed and overthinking it all the time, everything just works out better for you. Yes? We'll talk more about that. We're just sort of stepping into this new thought. But we think that it's a good thing for you to feel the importance of unspoken vibration, because there is emotional response to unspoken vibration. And if you can enjoy the unspoken vibration and not try to make it something different than it is, then all the way out it will go easier for you. For example, do you ever watch anything political? And if you do, even though you don't want to admit that you do, if you do you ever find yourself wanting to go screaming into the woods because of the polar opposites of perspectives about same things? Two or three, usually two, different perspectives about the same thing, speaking two entirely different messages. And if it was your job to bring that into alignment, you would lose your mind. The only reason that it works for any of them is that they don't try to find harmony. They're not looking for any harmony. They're just speaking what they're speaking what they're speaking, and never coming together. And that's just fine. But you can't be like that relative to your own being. You have an inner being that has a very strong momentum, and when you go opposite of your own inner being, the tension within you is very unsettling. Not only do you not feel clarity, not only do you not feel joyful, not only do you not feel love, but you don't feel confidence and you don't feel timing. Nothing goes well when you get crossways of who you are. So you cannot afford what you might consider the luxury of getting counter to the powerful knowledge within yourself. And that is a vibrational thing that you can catch at earlier subtle stages. So take these two polar opposites in politics, just for an example, and rather than watching the behavior, which could drive you crazy, or listening to the words that could cause you to want to go screaming into the woods, instead, just step back from the specifics of all of that and try to get a feeling about it. Let's say it's two people speaking entirely different things, but now they're not speaking, you cannot hear them. Now they're not behaving, you're not watching their action. Now you are just sensing that they are two different people. You're taking it back to a more general place, and you're acknowledging that they each are extensions of source energy, and they each have come into this environment in order to decide what they want, and they each have been sifting through the data, and they are certainly reacting to the data. In most cases, they are not in alignment. That's why they make you want to go screaming into the woods, because there's no harmony between them and their own inner being, and so there's no harmony between them and their inner being, or you and your inner being. But as you step back from the action or from the words, and you just focus upon the vibration, and you acknowledge that they're individuals who have come from source energy, don't you begin to feel your tension release just a little bit in your generality? As you acknowledge that they too have the right to sift through the data, don't you find your tension releasing just a little bit? As you acknowledge that they create their reality, not yours, that they create their reality, don't you feel your tension releasing just a little bit? As you acknowledge that the law of attraction is responding to them just like the law of attraction is responding to you, don't you feel the tension releasing just a little bit? As you step away from the specifics of what they might be saying or the behavior that they might be offering, and you acknowledge the vibrational basis of them, which is the same vibrational basis of you, doesn't it give you a sense of letting go? Doesn't it give you more of a sense of letting them be whatever they be? And doesn't it free you then to move forward in the thoughts that feel best to you? In other words, as long as you are railing against anything that's going on, you are not in concert with your own inner being. You cannot find the release of your own attunement with who you are as long as you are pushing against the opinion of any other. Because you're not tuning into their vibration, you're tuning in their right to have a vibration, their right to exist. You're turning into the diversity that they've come for. You're tuning into the balance of your planet. You're tuning into the you couldn't know what you want if they weren't there offering to you what you know you don't want. You couldn't get clear about who you are. You couldn't find your alignment. In other words, what we're leading up to, and you're not ready to hear it yet, and you may be once you croak, but until then, maybe not. But what we're leading up to is that at the core of all of you is alignment with your inner being. And once you find alignment with your inner being, you have found alignment with all of their inner beings. And once you find alignment with their inner beings, as long as you're not out of alignment with your inner being, then you have power of influence. But your influence will never be to get them to behave in a way that you think that you need them to behave. Because you've all come forth to live the diversity. The diversity is your greatest strength. Without variance, without difference, you could not define what you want. And defining what you want doesn't make it right for everyone else. You see what we're getting at? We think this conversation has been beneficial to everyone.